Hey, welcome everybody to the Gig App Podcast by Perah 2024. I was looking. This is the first week since mid-November that we haven't had a CEO guest. But people, that's not over. We will have one per month. I think we mentioned last week there will be some changes in the format. I think we've got at least a good footprint down, and we'll go from here because one of the things I think I mentioned last week, I know David, you heard it. Hopefully everybody else did too. Was that I think one of the biggest things that we can provide in this podcast weekly is Q&A answers to all the platforms, at least the ones that I'm helping monitor. Big ones: TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. Anywhere on those that you're leaving comments, we'll bring them into here every week. And that way we're flushing out the platform questions every week. And that way if there's some start to become redundant, we can just have like a quick answer board, like little image we put up and go, this is an FAQ that we've already answered. Basically, I don't know. I just think that that's one of the biggest misses of all gig apps, every one of them going on. If you look at the best working gig apps, it's all based on customer service, period.
Yeah.
So with that said, also next week is the history of Perah. It's a video you guys I know I was working on. I was going to call it I don't know what a mockumentary is, but I was going to call it one, but I don't even know what one is. But it's like a short documentary. It's gonna be like 40 minutes, guys. It'll be in this time slot, but it's, the stages of Perah. Like I met David pre-Perah. So from concept inception to DoorDash chip transparency to the 200+ thousand Perah users to DoorDash's cease and desist, the reasons tip transparency went away, merchandising, catering, things to come, other projects, drivers' rights movement, the gig worker town hall, all successful in their own ways. So even if you guys are like, well, where is merchandising now, or what did that? These were all like, nobody had done these things. So trust me, they're all building to why I keep saying Perah 2024, because I think there's a lot more.
Maybe it's the journey, or maybe because we're always looking at the next thing. I've forgotten about half of those things, and thanks for reminding me.
Oh, and there's even more. So watch, David. David's going to have to watch the history of Perah to learn it.
Yeah. I think it started with me with long hair, 30 pounds lighter, and now we're here 3.5 years later, and I got the long hair back, but a little heavier.
Yeah,
happy. More to come.
Right, so. And the changes coming. David and I were talking just before we went live, and so might as well hit on this a little bit, guys. And it's always good to just put it out there anyway. For those waiting for tip transparency to come back, I can't speak for David, but I've talked to him enough to know that him and I are both on that same page. That look, we're looking to we wish almost like that was great for what it was, but it's almost like when you get typecast in Hollywood. It's like, that's what, oh, you guys are those tip transparent. No. There's such bigger ideas, and they're so much better, especially now in 2024, because in all honesty, what would tip transparency do for you? Because I can tell you what it does on this end. It leaves the engineering team running, chasing their tails, trying to always figure out what DoorDash has done. It causes a lot of people a lot of work to try and pull that together until the next time they mix it up and get pissed. But at this point, I don't think that, because correct me if I'm wrong, David, but the first time especially, but even the second, that's when the big banger tips were not that rare. They weren't everywhere, but they weren't that rare.
Yeah. I remember we had sort of like the fun emojis with all the different sort of like unicorn, double unicorn, horse, and all of that. But I think, hearing from gig workers, I think the biggest issue now is mostly that people just aren't getting enough good pings, right? So I think just sort of the universe has changed. Back then, it's like, hey, there's a bunch of pings. Let me pick and cherry pick the good ones. Now it seems to be sort of like, hey, I need as you put it well, I think 2024 is the year of the other apps, because or off-brand apps, or however you want to call it, because I think people are just looking for work, right? They're looking for good work. So, it's just changed.
Right. And that's something, that's what did I put down here? So we will do, here's the format as we have it. So we've moved a couple people. We've got one CEO per month. We did that kind of ending the year. That was fun. But we're still going to do one per month. Those are fun. But the other weeks, we might have gig workers like yourself on. We might have other content creators. It depends on what the topic is. But here's how I see it. Some of the things you can expect on here are we will discuss earnings opportunities. David was talking about one before the show that it's not what you all are used to, but it's an earning thing that you can do that earns pretty good money. I mean, like, look, we might be stepping outside of the bounds. Don't think, oh, they're going like that direction. No, we're trying to bring any option to you. It seems like something that could be done in the way of the apps. I don't hope I'm saying that right. But, I mean,
Yeah.
David, I don't know if you even want to try and explain what that is. Because, I mean, like, this is, again, guys, there will be app offers too and partnerships with some of the things you guys already know. But these apps have, I mean, let's face it, first of all, there's a lot of stuff going on with the DOL, and I know people are questioning what that means. One thing you can count on, though, is at least 10 to 15 states, from what I've been told from Tim Cavan, who I'll be talking with next week, is they're gonna be passing legislation on these gig apps, and everything is gonna take a pivotal turn. I mean, like, if you think that when Seattle, New York, and California do their thing with these, and we wonder why in the other states the driver pay rate goes down. Yeah, since the height, it always goes down a little bit. You notice the increments get bigger. Trust me, they're not going to take on all of the bite of all these legislations and lawsuits. They're going to try and pass that on to the driver. I mean, I know for a fact that Derek Kashishawi has I've heard Sergio talking about, he has 8 months left before he gets $50 million if he can stay profitable during those 8 months. So what's he going to do? He's going to do whatever he has to do to get that $50 million. And again, that's going to come in form of pay cuts. And now we know the DOL made a rule change, and it's done. It's done. Deal.
Yeah.
So I mean, there are people saying, well, that's not going to end it. No, it's not going to end it, but it's going to put a lot of monetary restraints on this company.
Yeah.
Sorry, travelers. That sound better? But yeah, I mean, it's just true. So we'll have the CEO on. The other weeks we'll be joined by gigworks. We'll discuss earning opportunities, gig work nationwide, Perah app and its features, as well as streamlining of ParaWorks, ParaPass, personal dispatch. We're going to do a weekly segment on all of the questions, like I was saying, that you guys put on any platform. I'll gather them all. I'll bring them here. We'll address them, and then we'll run them to all the platforms live. So you guys will have your answers the next week. And then and more too.
You were saying earlier, though, right? It's sort of like, what is the goal? It's like competition for your time, right? And I think that's really, what you're saying is like, hey, there's all these changes coming. Who knows if people are trying to squeeze you with price to make money, to get their stock rewards, DOL, all of that. And I think really the simplest answer, it's not easy, is just, can you have other good options, basically, right? And I think that's really sort of, since trip transparency has been sort of like the overarching, like what we're trying to do, right? I think that's why you saw stuff from merchandising to ParaWorks to Recruit to this thing that came out today. So we had this sort of fun one on Recruit today, where if you actually look on sort of the past tab, in a number of cities, we have one from a company called Data Annotation Tech. So it's basically sort of like training AI. But it's interesting because you can make 20 to 26 bucks an hour with unlimited work, working whenever you want from home at a computer, basically.
Yeah.
And I think it sort of fits into a lot of the other philosophy pairs. Like, look, I'm not saying that's for anyone, right? I'm not sure if I'd want to do it. Who knows? But for some people, that sounds pretty great, right? I mean, you can feel sick, it's cold, don't want to drive on the ice. Hey, why not try this out? Basically. So I think really that's the philosophy we're going to continue trying to push this year. That can we just find other good things, not just other things. I think it's important not to say, hey, we're just going to find a bunch of random stuff. That's not great, right? But really, it's like, can we find
No.
Yeah. So if you're listening, I sort of encourage you, take a look. We have sort of an email that went out to a number of sort of Perah drivers. This is earned from the comfort of your own home. It's on the app in sort of the past tab. I will say that you do have to sort of answer sort of a set of questions. It takes probably 10 or 15 minutes. But if you sort of once you get through that, you're onboarded and you can start earning. So yeah, it's an interesting one.
Yeah, I mean, I'll look into it too. Like, guys, I mean, like, I don't know what the flexibility with that one looks like or how that actually works. Like, if you're able to just go, I'll work right now, or like,
I think
or
it's
if you
sort of
gotta.
the impression is it's sort of like gig style, right? So it's like, hey, here's a task. It takes this long. Do you want to claim it and do it? Basically, right?
Oh, so they want you to do it in one session.
Yes, I need to like double check exactly.
Or if not, like at least like that's your task though, and here's the monetary amount with it.
Yes.
So, I mean, I'll get on it. I'll try it. I don't know I know there's a lot of you guys watching this who make less than $20 an hour, sadly, and I'm not blaming you. I'm saying it's the market, but there's a lot of you who are making less than $20 and you're using your vehicle.
Yeah.
What David's talking about is making 24 at home. And I'm not saying change your whole life. A lot of us like to get out and be around people, so that's part of it too. Some of us don't want to be at home.
There's
But
actually
we
one
all
that
multi-app. Why don't you find a way to mix it in?
There's actually sort of one that I've been skeptical about for a while because I've heard people always sort of joking, hey, why don't you like label data instead or do some of this stuff? And I've always been like, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that pays super well. But in this case, it's actually a friend of mine who started this company like 5 or 6 years ago. And he has this pretty interesting story where he was like, yeah, we started this company. And our whole pitch was like, let's label data, but better. So higher quality data labeling. We hire better people. We pay higher. Better quality data labeling. And he's like, nobody cared about it. He's like, this is like 4 or 5 years ago. Everyone's like, better quality. Who cares, right? And suddenly the AI boom came, and suddenly he's just like, I think Google and Facebook are throwing him contracts in the tens of millions. And as he put it, he's just like, hey, one day, like the skies opened and money started pouring down, and we had to hire a bunch of people, and suddenly people cared a lot about quality. And I guess I sort of tell this story because I think it's an interesting opportunity that I've always been skeptical about these jobs, but it's a guy I know and I trust, which is why you saw this.
Yeah, it always makes a difference.
Yeah, right. I was like, I know him. He's a good man. He will do the right thing. He cares about pay transparency. His values align. So it's going to make a pretty good gig.
So I see in the chat they're talking about me having a bad sound still. Does it sound? Are you guys hearing an echo? Because I'm not.
It was like a little bit, but I think it's better. Earlier, whatever you coughed up solved the problem quite a bit, I think. So.
All right, I was just making sure that it's not like horrendous or anything because I'm hearing it fine. So, First thing I wanted to walk through here was I did a Perah Works yesterday. I'm going to say this too. Like, first of all, yesterday there were 3 Perah Works available, and I had only seen one this year. But all the apps are slow coming out of the gate this year. It's been real slow, but I saw 3 yesterday on Perah Works. They were all lunchtime ones. So, I mean, let me see if I can grab the one I didn't do first. That's the one. This one I did do. So there was one up in Longmont for Tokyo Joe's. Longmont's about a half hour from me. And then there was one in Denver, and that's the one we'll talk about, this one. So it was $35, 3.9 miles. It's hard for me to gauge. One thing that is definitely missing from some on these screenshots, by the way, I've cut out some parts, guys, because I don't want to show addresses or anything like that. But so yeah, exactly. So on here, one thing that's missing, and I don't say it's not transparent because it's obviously, look, if I hope I'm saying this right, David, but if we had the ability to show you the order total, we would. There are platforms that do that, but like that is something that's missing here because with catering, like, well, how much am I taking here? It was pretty fair. Like I know Illegal Pete's very well. And I probably took about $250 to $350 worth of food. So if you can kind of put into your mind what that is, it's not a lot. I had a catering bag and like 4 very thin, long stacked boxes that were light. It wasn't a lot.
Yeah. I know we've actually built a system which tells you if it's small, medium, large, or extra large, but I do think right now it's only rolled out in certain cities with certain partners. But I hear you. That is helpful. So I do know.
Right. I mean, here's my point. This, I don't, maybe on Paraworks, not yet are the big ones coming through, but like Delivered has, I mean, he, you know, when we had him on, he said that the biggest one they had was in Dallas for like 18,000 or something. And we were talking about how this is why DoorDash is not allowed to even have these offers, because what Dasher would be trusted with $18,000 of food. But here's the thing. So like, I'm happy to take a $3.935 job, and I figured it'd be fine. But what if I get there and it's $3,500 worth of food? That's a big job. You know, so you're not blindly bidding because you know you're going this distance for this. It reminds me of the early days of Curry before they had any load stuff in there. But I still called them transparent because they were showing me things that no other app did, like this, even the details.
But I agree. I sort of agree, and I hear you loud and clear, though. So I know we want to be able to bring this to all the opportunities that are coming in. So I do know it is in some, but it does make a big difference, right? I mean, you know, it's sort of like
totally.
like catering. It's like the catering equivalent of getting, like, you know, 10 packages of water on your favorite app, Instacart, right? Like, it's the sort of same thing, right? You just want to know what you're signing up for, because a good trip can suddenly become a bad trip, right?
Yeah, 100. So here's the weird thing. So I have done Paraworks for a company. Well, one of the companies that is getting distributed to Paraworks is from King Courier Services. I don't know how many states they're in. They are in mine. They're pretty prevalent. And they're actually, like, after I finished one, they like one about 2 months ago for them. They were the ones who said, download Cartwheel, and they sent me this link. So they work with Cartwheel. The order that I got through Paraworks yesterday was an Easy Cater order. The second I accepted it, like the minute after I accepted it, on my phone was this: hello, thanks for accepting an order from King Courier Services on Paraworks. Please click yes to confirm. Blah, 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 blah. So I did. What did I do? Yes, right? Okay, so then this comes up, though. Drop off, ask for who, ring the doorbell, item count 3. The item count 3 was, it usually is how many, like if there's boxes or whatnot too. So it actually would have been 5, but normally it's very right. But it's that second paragraph here, the second text that threw me for a little bit of a loop. Lastly, please go visible in the app 30 minutes prior to the pickup time and arrive at the store 5 minutes prior. And we've talked about this before, because I told David that when you get to here and you want to start the job, now I took this screenshot when it was 2.5 hours out, but if I hit start job 30 minutes out, it says you need to wait till you're 10 or 15 minutes out before you can start this job. So in that kind of conflict, it made me wonder, is this why so many hands in the cookie jar lead to another person taking it? Because is King Courier Services until 10, 15 minutes out not seeing me starting the job? And so therefore at 30 minutes, they're saying, okay, dispatch it to somebody else.
Yeah, I think my understanding of what's going on is I think, you know, you said the right thing, which is like there's a bunch of different things happening. So to like maybe zoom out a bit, there's sort of Easy Cater. So Easy Cater basically has a relationship where it's like, hey, you're an office, you can order food and we do the catering. Easy Cater then dispatches the work to a system called Nash, actually, which connects into lots of local delivery service providers. They plug into DoorDash Drive to Uber for Business and a bunch of local couriers. So they also connect into Cartwheel, which is the app. So basically, what happens is Easy Cater sends it to Easy Cater sends it to Nash. Nash sends it to a local courier who happens to use Cartwheel, and then the ping shows up in Cartwheel. And then Nash monitors on Easy Cater's behalf what's happening in the app. So, I mean, you're not wrong in that, like, you're like, what is going on?
So we have five companies handling a catering order.
Yeah, there's like multiple companies all trying to enforce like their standard, even though at the end of the day, it's a gig worker doing the job, but they can do how they want to, basically. But I think what happens a lot of the time is basically what Easy Cater says is like, hey, if somebody isn't on the way to pick up the trip within some amount of window by the time it needs to be picked up, we will take the trip back and send it to DoorDash, basically. So I think that's
Right. And
why
I
you
know
see.
that's their last resort, but how do they,
That's
that's their last resort, but how do they, okay, so do they know when if I launch luckily for me, I use the Perah mileage. I'm using Drive so that I have my accounts connected, even if I'm not doing food, just to be part of Pulse and all that. So regardless,
Yep.
the one app that I'm always running is Perah. So I have it on while I was ending a curry and about to head that way. Do they know that I have the app open, even though I can't hit start job? Or is that not a something they can see?
Yeah. So I think if you have the Cartwheel app, they do know. If
No,
you
no, your
accepted,
no, Para works. Cartwheel
they
wasn't
should.
involved in this one at all. They didn't even mention the
Yes.
word cartwheel like the time before.
Yes. So they should know. Here's where it gets more complicated, actually. So maybe this is the the hard work that the engineers here try to do. So what would usually happen before was you would get a text from the partner saying, "Hey, please download our Cartwheel. Go into Cartwheel, complete the work in Cartwheel, and do this." Right. And what we
Well, and
decided was
that's
that was
what
a
I think I told you the last time with cartwheel, and I just need to say this, like, dude, King or the whoever it is that does the cartwheel, when I did download it, I have to leave cartwheel off. I still have it on my phone. If I turn it on right now, there will be an order or two, but if I don't take it and I close the app, like I don't want that, they'll start texting me for hours.
yeah.
Hey, will you take this? And I'm like, no, I can't take that. I'm already home, or no, I'm good, and I'm on another job. Okay, and then they'll raise it like $10, and they say that it's been raised $10. Do you want it now? No, I'm good. And then you get a third one, and I've had this happen to me twice. The two times I've turned it on, it says you've been assigned this order, and you're like, what? And you click it, it takes you into Cartwheel. You're not assigned it, but it's gone up one last time. So they're
Yeah.
really fishing for you. And then that third one, they've like gone up to their final price. Will you please take it? It's like they're begging though out of the box, and I don't like it. So I pretty
And
much
I
have
think
to
the
leave
main
it
thing I
off.
want to highlight is like Cartwheel is almost it's like the Uber app without Uber behind it. So Cartwheel is like we sell a dispatch app, basically, right? So it's actually sort of like a delivery service provider or a company using Cartwheel, basically. So
Mm-hmm.
that would be the courier or somebody like that. But I think what we did on our end was basically said, hey, for if you're just taking your first job or your second job, you don't want to have to download another app, log in, have exactly what you said happen. So what we actually did was we built an unofficial integration to Cartwheel, which basically said you can complete work in the Perah app, you can do it in the Perah app. To the partner, it just shows up in Cartwheel like magic, basically. And that's sort of the experience that's happening now. So it was actually, we took
Mm-hmm.
some of the skills we learned from DoorDash Tip Transparency and basically said, how can we make a better experience here? And just sort of erase the need to download Cartwheel. It actually worked pretty well, and that Cartwheel thought that was pretty cool. And now we actually have more of an official integration with them, basically.
Sure.
But I think that's sort of what we were trying to do there. Although I see Deborah has sort of like a good quote here, which is this has happened to me and I'm unable to sign in until 10 minutes before. And they didn't know that I was on my way. So that does sound like something that we should be hoping to address. I think we
I
did
guess
want
I'm
to be
just
able to.
like, couldn't it just be changed to, like almost like through Para Works, like follow the instructions of the order and just allow them to say that they're on their way up to like an hour or 30
Yeah, I think
minutes if
that's
that's
probably
the
the
most.
easiest solve, which is like a I'm on my way versus that. I think where it gets complicated is I think some of these delivery service providers look on the map and want to see you moving there, basically. So I think different people run it differently. So that's actually something we've been trying to work on is like for people using
So maybe the
Paraworks.
button could just read, hey, follow the dispatch directions, but click this as soon as you're on your way, or something to that, like meaning like, don't, if you're multi-apping, don't click it 30 minutes out if you're going to be going east and you're supposed to be going south.
Yeah. So I think that's an easy way to fix it. And frankly, also there are people, a bunch of partners who like use this without having to use this. So actually, I think what we've been working on is just like, hey, here's a standard operating procedure. One, you shouldn't be asking somebody to have to do this ahead of time. It's a gig worker; they're going to do the work how they want, right?
Yeah.
Two, you really need this, and three. So I think we are working through a couple of those like different things.
And I mean, like I said to David, I saw two people in a restaurant not long ago that was delivered, and I don't remember if it was a Pair of Works or what, but there was the same Easy Cater order number. And so like that's the kind of thing where I feel like these companies that are doing a better job than DoorDash need to really learn. I think that's what needs to be solved. Again, this turns into like almost like customer service kind of, because they need to learn how they're dealing with the customers.
Yeah. I think
Like
it
an
really
Easy
works.
Cater
Sort of
or
like, it's just sort of complicated. So Easy Cater has a set of rules. Nash has a set of rules. The delivery service provider has a set of rules. And then, that's probably where the issue lies, right? Is like, it's not easy to get three sets of rules to talk to each other. On our end, I guess the reason we still put up and try to make this better is like it's good work and people like it and it pays well. So I think that's why.
I mean, like Josh said too, like I've seen it when it comes through here, like it might be 3 days in a row of like 2, 3, 4 orders. Then it might not see any for 5. So, but I got to tell you guys, we talked about this before. I went 6 months last year without one Perah Works order until like October or whatever. And then I started seeing them all the time. So things grow, things happen. So it is moving along at the right pace. I just don't want to show up somewhere and be battling somebody over whose this is when we both accepted from 2 platforms, because that turns into it's a weird situation for the restaurant too.
Yeah.
Because they're going, look, dude, all I know is you guys are here with Easy Cater. Yeah. Who has this order number? We both do. What? Look, we just need this food delivered, guys. I don't know. And I can say this. I've even talked to restaurants. They have trouble getting in touch with Easy Cater and stuff other than like chatbots. So when you're dealing with real-time food scenario stuff and catering, you don't have time for chatbots. You need to be able to get an Easy Cater person on the line.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just, it needs some revamping, but that is where the money's at. We all know this is, like, again, all these companies that launched in 2023 that were catering, that more catering launched than food delivery apps by far.
Yeah.
Because they knew DoorDash can't do these.
And it's growing, it's paying well, right? Which is why, but that doesn't mean we can't try to do things better, right? I mean, at the end of the day, I say like it's our responsibility to try and do it better, because who's doing the work is the work, people using Perah, the gig workers doing the work, right? So at the end of the day, we need to make a better, more seamless experience, make sure that the pay is good, all of that. Because it's sort of fun, as you said, there's lots of people involved in the value chain, but really at the end of the day, the restaurant's making it, Easy Cater's letting somebody order it, and the worker's delivering it, right? But there's sort of these layers in between.
Yeah. So I was seeing Deborah's comment, and I saw one other I was looking for real quick here. What was it? It was back up a little bit. Oh, wait, no. Why am I not seeing? Oh, here it is. I had this. I feel like Deborah's in Minnesota. I know Deborah. And I feel like she asked me kind of the same question too. Like, if it wasn't you, Deborah, excuse me, it was somebody else, but it was that they hadn't had an update on any of their background checks from Checker on like the 2 or 3 apps they work, but they were already on Perah Works, and now they needed to update the documents on Perah Works, but there was no current background check done.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like, in that case, what do you do?
Yes. So I think 2 things. The insurance document, usually it's because it's either expired or doesn't match sort of the vehicle on record. But the background check is frankly, being a pain in the ass, right? So I understand why people are always confused with that. So what happens is you have a background, you sign up for a platform, you sign up for a Checker background check when you sign up for a platform, and they check all these things. They started to move into this world where they do what is called continuous monitoring. So usually what happens
Grubhub was doing. Yeah.
Because like a bunch of your stuff, like your background check is rerun every year, except for the MBR, which is run continuously, or except for this, which is run continuously. And to protect the sort of business that they have there, they don't give you the result of the continual check, right? So when you're uploading a copy of the background check, some of the partners we're working with said, hey, we need to see this. And the background check.
But every time they run it, you have a right to get it, and they're supposed to give you that opportunity.
They do, but it's going to be the usual sort of, you need to write them a legal letter and blah, 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 right?
But okay, so I guess maybe I misworded it then. Could you could you approach it just in a nice way to Checker? I mean, is that a thing? Could you call Checker and say, listen, or email
I'm
and
sure
say,
you could. I mean, if you
listen,
wrote them an email,
I need an updated copy of my background check because I'm still working these apps, but I haven't had one in a while.
yeah,
And
I was
not
just like,
even, I mean, do you need to say why, or just I want to get a
no,
copy?
no, it's like I'd like a copy, right? I noticed that this is out, so that's one way to do it. I think the other way too is if you email myself and help out with Perah. What we've effectively done is we found a provider who will just run the part that's missing, basically. So that will allow it to be complete and allow you to sign up for things. I will say this though, I think one thing we learned was like a lot of the better opportunities. Unfortunately, I really like this idea of Perah Pass, right? Of sort of like, hey, it's your profile and use it to unlock. But frankly, more of the better opportunities we have right now are what we call unqualified. So what that means is like you don't need a fully completed past profile to access them. So I think, for example, the one I sort of gave just here, this sort of data annotation or stuff like that is like technically you don't need a completed past profile to be able to access those.
Okay. So yeah, okay. I know all this is coming together. I know it's been, listen, part of the reason we do this, and a lot of it'll become Q&A stuff too, and launching new things that we're doing. But I know there's a confusion. Perah Works, Perah Pass, Perah Drive. So, I mean, I know, but they will all funnel together. I know that it's confusing right now. But like when I see it laid out, when I open the app, I'm pretty like acclimated to the app and the way it looks now. And it's so simple along the bottom that I don't mind it. But I'm sure that, eventually, guys, it will all make a little more sense. But even in the now, it's pretty easy. I mean, you turn on your alerts, the Perah Works drops down. If you think you've missed one and you don't have lock on your screen, it depends on how you have all your settings set. But you can always go into Perah Works too and see if there's any available.
Yeah. What's up?
So
funny, I actually want to pull one thing, and I actually haven't even told you about this, Steve. So sort of dropping this on this show most of the way through, but like this whole sort of like stack of like multiple systems talking to each other, the whole thing being a bit of a mess. That's something we've run into a lot, actually. So I mean, the beauty of what we do is we try to make things simple. But if you think about it, like if the driver on Perah is accepting a trip, what's happening on the back is actually we're taking your Perah profile, we're going to the partner system saying, hey, this driver has all the docs that are necessary. You're being registered in that system, an account is being created for you. And then once that account is being created, the trip is being assigned to you. And this is all happening in like a fraction of a second, basically. But there's a lot of stuff that actually goes into sort of the back of this.
Right.
I think what we realized was a lot of people's systems have multiple things that are stitched together, not quite well put together, multiple tools being used. So that's actually something that we've been trying to work on, is actually basically saying, I put it almost as sort of like it's like a weird analogy. I joke this, I know I'm getting older as I start to use analogies, but sort of like to this point, we've been trying to build a plug for drivers, right? Where it's like, we're trying to plug into a partner system, your profile, allowing you to get the trips, allowing you to be able to do something. And for a while, we have this plug, and we've been trying to plug into a socket, and the socket's irregular. It's the wrong electricity. It doesn't work super well. It's faulty. It jumps, right? Stuff like that. Actually, I think one of the things I'm trying to do this year is to build a better socket, frankly. So we're sort of trying to define a set of standards. Meaning if a driver's profile looks like this, it should be accepted. For a trip to be assigned, it should look like this. If a trip's being sent through this standard, the full tip and all this information has to be there. A driver should be able to indicate when they want to get paid. They should be able to get paid faster if they want to, all of that. So I know this is sort of a lot to say, but I think that's actually been sort of one of my themes for this year is like after being frustrated of plugging into a bunch of partner systems, trying to get good work for drivers, that's actually sort of this newer initiative I've been trying to work on is just like, can we almost set a nice standard or make a socket basically so that, we can, the idea being if we can go to a bunch of people and say, this is a centralized driver profile, this is what a payments rails looks like, this is what insurance looks like, this is what all of these set of things look like. If we can get a bunch of people to use that, then we can suck all the jobs into Perah Works, basically, and get lots and lots and lots of good in the system. So I know that was probably a bit of a random rant there, but I think really the conversation that we were talking about, the multiple systems all not quite perfectly talking to each other, like that frustration for me is real, right? And that sort of, something that's on my, talking about sort of Perah in 2024. This is stuff that will happen in the background. So I guess to most users, you won't see anything. But my hope is 6 months from now, suddenly you'll be like, wait, this experience is much smoother. There's a bunch more work showing up, and this is pretty awesome. So I think that's
and to what else, I deal with a lot of the Facebook comments too, guys, and there's a lot of people. No, this doesn't work. Everything's. And I had one comment in there the other day. Everything's not working in the app. I'm like, really? Uber's working now. My DoorDash is connected. I use Drive all the time. I'm using Pulse. I see it working. Yeah, we need more drivers on it, but it's working. I do Works. I'm on Pass. It's all working. So I think the only thing that really people say is that the DoorDash connection might not be working, but I think you need to email David if that's something that you're interested in. And it's not tip transparency, guys. It's just for other things. So,
but allowing it to do auto decline and Pulse and all that.
Yeah. So, but I mean, I got to tell you guys, like this is the one app now. I mean, for a long time, I don't think I even ever really told you guys, like all you guys use all these apps. I used to use Hurdler because I did my taxes in Hurdler. And I always just thought in my head, dude, it'd be smart to probably do the mileage tracking through Hurdler. I'm doing my taxes through them, but I'm doing it through Perah now. So Perah is the one app I do launch, even if I'm just doing curry for the day, whatever. Like it's going to be launched. I'm tracking my miles. I turn Drive on, so it's helping Pulse be populated just because, but I turn my mileage tracking on. So I don't know how many of you are using mileage tracking or have connected accounts, but you should help your market out. Help Pulse grow too. Pulse needs to grow, needs more people. The more people, the more you'll get out of it. Because I've seen it on nights where Pulse has like maybe 5-6 things showing, but I have seen it here in Denver where there's upward of 40 at a time. And these are those I don't know how often it flips. It's hard to tell for me because sometimes I feel like it's quicker than the last time. Like it'll switch, like refresh, and there's 30, and then it's like if you think it's every minute, then like 20 seconds later refreshes, there's 40, and then a minute later there's 35. I'm like, wait, why is it refreshing? Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just me driving. But every time I look down, like on weekends and stuff, it's picking up big here. So it's a word of mouth thing, and it's not like, hey, keep this hidden to just you. This is one of the ones you want to share with other drivers. So I mean, I don't know about you guys. Like, so I don't know where you're doing your other things. Like every app has mileage tracking now. But if you're using the Perah app, might as well do it. I've been using it. It's actually exactly, I don't know, David was concerned for a while, but it's accurate. I know what distances are.
But it feels pretty good now, right? I mean, that's what I've heard. I mean,
it's correct for me. I know.
I'll always say things could be better, but I think for mileage tracker, I'm pretty happy with it, right? Like I think it's accurate.
So we got Perah Pass updates. We got Pulse. I've said Perah 2024 is all about growth, innovation, and rebranding. Like the rebranding meaning no DDTT. You quit emailing about it. Because again, I'm going to go back to what we were talking about in the start that I don't think I said. I didn't get to that final stage where it's like, do you really need it anymore? I talk to people all day about these apps, and a majority of them are DoorDashers. We all know that, look, in the pandemic, coming out of the pandemic, TT was awesome because there were huge tips. There's not huge. They really are unicorn tips now. There's very few huge tips out there. I mean, maybe somebody's going to say I'm wrong, and that's one market being one person, one market specific. But the overall people I talk to say, dude, there aren't $30, $40, $50 tips anymore. Those don't exist. So my question is, why put the effort into DDTT, especially when we're doing all these other things that really could help you? I guess my thing is, I don't think that would help you enough to make it a big deal.
Yeah, I don't think it'd ever be as big a deal as it was. But I get why people like it, right?
Yeah, no, I do too. But I'm saying like the problem has become is that now people are, I mean, like I read an article today that Uber has made 2 offers now since November. It's been under the radar to buy Instacart.
Yeah.
Like they want to buy Instacart, and they want to buy them at $40 a share. They're at like $34.90 right now. So they're offering them above to just buy them out.
I mean, Uber's been on the stock has been on a tear because they've been. The other thing I've learned, the stock has been on a tear, profits are on a tear, and every driver I talk to when I'm a writer is basically
doing horrible.
We're taking like 50 or 60% of it now, basically, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Well, I mean, one of the things we lost with transparency, I got to say, because we always fight for transparency. We got to remember how dirty these companies are. They said after all those years, they finally said, fine, here's transparency. Here's upfront transparency. Here's what you'll be paid, and here's where you're going. Well, how much are you getting? Now you don't know. I mean, they could be saying, we're going to pay you 35. Well, how much are you getting? 350, but you're going to get 10%.
It's funny. It's sort of transparency for the offer, but now it's not transparency on the cut, basically, right?
Yeah. So you guys, I just kind of David and I wanted to kind of outline the new format here for you this week. Next week will be the history of Perah, and then we're back. And then next month we have we still have Gridwise CEO coming in. We still have Curry coming in, but Curry's in March, Gridwise is in February, and that'll be one per month, and we'll just keep that going too. But mostly it's going to be really some of the what can and we want to. I mean, obviously. Like leave comments, put comments on any video on those platforms I mentioned. Go to the Perah group, join it. We've had a lot of new joins lately, so there's a lot of fresh blood in there. Comment on posts, put questions. I'll round them all up, bring them in here, and we'll get to the bottom of things. Because I honestly now all the companies I deal with, I now know. I've always known customer service is key, but on these apps, if you don't have amazing customer service, you're going to fail because everything's too in real time. People aren't going to stand there with a bag of food in their hand going, nobody's getting back to me.
That's just frustrating, right? I mean, it's just frustrating.
Yeah. I mean, we just have to come up with better systems and better ways of earning. And obviously it goes out to, I mean, this, we keep getting more and more listens on the audio podcast. The live that we do here has been growing and growing. People are seeing the same thing that we were talking about 24 being a different year for these giant apps. A lot of their years going to be spent in court instead of trying to mind screw us. Now they're going to be in court all year talking about mind screwing us for 10 years.
Yeah.
So now they actually have to take their offensive psychological warfare, go into court and defend it.
Yep.
And so I don't think we're going to see a lot more of that. I just don't think we're going to see a lot more increasing of, hey, we're DoorDash and we're going to do the first nice thing for you Dashers. We're going to pay you more. Like, you don't expect that, but don't expect them to be. I don't think they're going to be pulling out new tricks right now. They're way too under the microscope.
I really love how you put it as like 2024, it's the rise of the other apps, right? I think that really should be the theme here. How can we help other people discover other apps? How can we help people find other earning opportunities? I think there's another one here. How can we get the CEOs of the other apps on the show? And how can we get people who are building the other apps to build it with the gig worker perspective and build it the right way, basically? And I think
that's why we were doing the other CEOs, and that's why we'll continue. We're bringing in the ones we believe in. Like, these are the ones that should be around.
Yep.
And even if you have to piece them together, it's still potentially in a lot of markets can make you more than you were making with just DoorDash.
And I think on my end, I think there is sort of a bigger question, which is in this year, is like, what does it mean to be an independent contractor, right? Like, what will it mean? I almost want to sort of expand the scope almost a bit of this show, where it's like, what are other, is it nursing? Is it like, what are other places that are using gig worker, basically, right?
Yeah, globally. I mean, because there's ideas in other countries going on we haven't even looked at yet.
I'd say even in the U.S., it's just like, there's gig workers for a bunch of these other industries, and I think it'd be interesting to at least have that maybe once every month. There's like somebody from like, this is gig, but it's a different gig, but like, we're all in this together. This is a year where like, who knows what gig will mean at the end of it, right? So
exactly my point. So make sure that every week you're coming in here live. Let's build this up, and let's keep building this up. And if you can't catch it in the time it is, we see people watching the replays. We see the watch time hours going through the roof. So people are taking all this in. They're responding back with comments. People are joining the groups. And again, I'll say that out loud because I don't think we say it enough. So as we're leaving here today, if you are on Facebook, TikTok, and you at all prefer those or getting off YouTube once in a while, go there and check out especially Facebook, check out the group. Because for a while it was a little stagnant, but we've had a lot of new members lately that I've been letting in. I'm giving everybody like a chance. If somebody thinks they slipped by me because, oh, I got kicked out of here before, but this guy's letting me in, you go in there and tear it off or something, I'm going to kick you out. So, but at the same time, we're getting a lot of good people at this point coming in. It's not trolling. It's people coming in who, some of them from YouTube and whatnot. So if you are on these other platforms, see what we're doing over there too. But with that said, next week is the history of Perah. Then David and I will be back, and then we're back with Gridwise. So that's the next 3 weeks. And we'll also be putting out some videos on this channel too, on the Perah channel. I put out one on last week on the drivers' rights movement. So if you guys haven't watched it, go check it out. It walks you through how to do it, and put your name on it, because who knows what that list could become extremely useful for here very soon. And it's anonymous, obviously, but like if there's let's say California has 10,000 signatures, that's a pretty good docket of anonymous signatures that can be submitted, as we don't want this, because there's going to be a lot of, I'm already talking to people in traditional independent contractor gigs who would love to have more names from the gig app side. And I think that's something that we might be able to help them with. And these are the people who are fighting for us. So that said, thank you guys for joining. And David and I will see you back here next week on Perah Podcast. All right, guys. Later.